Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Wally DM. Today we're going to take a look at the College of Eloquence Bard. Now, if you'd like to play a character that's going to rely on their oratory talents, such as persuasion and deception and intimidation, things of that nature, then this is definitely going to be the subclass for you. Now, you can find this subclass in the Theros book, but you can play this in any game. It doesn't have to be a Theros-related game. Now, if you're familiar with my character builds, I'm not really a min-maxer, but I do like to build on theme. So the theme that we're going to go with today's bard is a lot of talking skills. I'm going to pick spells and skills and abilities that are all going to revolve around using the oratory skills of this bard. And as far as the backstory is concerned, I'm thinking this bard is eventually going to work its way up into politics in like a Theros environment and go from there. So let's go ahead and jump right in and get started with our character build. This is a level 1 human bard by the name of Angelos. Before we even get started, I do want to point out that I am now using D&D Beyond for my character builds, and thanks to D&D Beyond for helping me get this set up so that I could use this to show you how I build characters. Very cool system, and I'm enjoying using the platform. So here we can see we have Angelos, and Angelos is a human variant bard, level 1. Now the reason that I chose human variant is two reasons. The first one being that I am playing this character in a Theros game, and my options were very limited to about 5 or 6 races, and variant human fit the best. The second reason, and we'll get to this in a little bit, is because there is a feat that I'm very interested in, and we'll talk about that more here in just a bit. Now let's take a look at our ability scores. Of course, I'm going to want to have that charisma at a 20 as high as soon as possible. So I'm putting my 15 of the standard array into charisma. I'll use that +1 modifier, at least one of them, from the human variant to get me at 16 right away. And then I'll put a 14 in constitution because I love having hit points. I'll put the 13 into dex, and I'll use that other +1 modifier to get that armor class just a little bit higher, taking dexterity to 14. Now, a few of the skills that I'm going to pick are going to be wisdom based, so I'm going to put my 12 in wisdom, and 10 and 8 are pretty much going to be our dump stats. So speaking of skills, I am going to pick the guild artisan background. And with the guild artisan background, I'm going to get 2 skills, which is insight and persuasion. Both of them are going to come in very handy for this character. But I also get a tool proficiency, and my tool proficiency is going to be in calligrapher's supplies. So I mainly picked this entire background for my backstory that I plan on this character being a politician, but he's going to start off as a scribe in a government building. He's going to do a lot of writing. He's going to have really nice handwriting, things of that nature. So having the calligrapher for supplies so he can do some transcription and a lot of writing for government officials is going to come in handy. Now, to round out my skills as a bard, we get to pick 3 of any skill, plus we get 1 for being a human. So I'm going to have deception, intimidation, perception, and performance. Of course, being a bard, you're going to want to have performance, especially if you're giving a speech, so that's going to come in very handy. Perception, I want him to be able to look about and see what's going on. And of course, persuasion, intimidation, and deception, that's where we're going to use our talking skills in order to solve problems. So at first level, our bard's going to get 2 main abilities. The first is going to be spell casting, and we'll go over the spells here in just a second. And the second is going to be bardic inspiration. Now, as far as bardic inspiration goes, if you're not familiar with the bard, you can use a bonus action to give anyone other than yourself within 60 feet an inspiration die. And at level 1, this is a d6, and they can use that d6 within the next 10 minutes to add it to an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw. So that is one of the heart and soul abilities of the bard. And so let's take a look at our spell list, and I want to circle back to the feat that I told you about because I did take a variant human and I did get a feat at first level, and the one that I chose was Magic Initiate. Now I want to build this character to be an orator, to do a lot of talking and things of that nature, and guidance is going to help me right out of the bat. And this is, as a Magic Initiate, I guess I should back up, as a Magic Initiate you get to pick 2 cantrips that you can add to your spell list. so you can cast them whenever you want. And you also get a first level spell that you can cast once per day. And as you can see down here in D&D Beyond, I've picked the Bless spell as my first level cleric spell, and you see that it has a use action here as opposed to my other first level spells which all say cast. So Bless doesn't go towards my spell slots for today or for the day, it just gives me one use of Bless per day. Now, as far as guidance go, it's one of my all-time favorite cantrips, but not only that, as far as being a bard with guidance, I can actually give a character a bardic inspiration die and a guidance die. So I can give them guidance, bardic inspiration, and then they can roll a d4 and a d6 if they're going to do an ability check. But not only that, but I can also cast guidance on myself. So if I'm going to go up and try to persuade someone to do stuff as early as first level, I've already got a +5 in persuasion. I can cast guidance on myself and I get an extra d4 to that roll. So even at first level, this character is going to be a talker and is going to be able to try to talk a lot of people into doing what he wants them to do. Now again, I do want to do a lot of talking, so I'm going to go into the theme of that with my spells. My other cantrips, I picked message because now I want to be able to do that message, do the little whisper, and maybe persuade somebody that way where they're the only ones that can hear it, or at least just communicate verbally with my other allies or adventuring party. And of course, Vicious Mockery is the all-time bard cantrip where we can just lace a few words that are mean and hurtful and do some damage that way. Speaking of that, there's also Dissonant Whispers, which is another way of talking in order to do some damage towards an enemy or an opponent. But on top of that, I also chose Healing Word because, again, I'm an orator. I'm going to be saying things, so I want to be able to yell across the room and be able to heal. I thought Tasha's Hideous Laughter falls in great with the talking abilities, giving me a spell where I can tell a joke or just say something funny, things of that nature. And then the last spell slot, I had a toss-up between Sleep and Unseen Servant. Now, as far as Sleep, I thought, well, maybe I could talk about politics and would bore them to death and they'd put them to sleep. But in the end, I decided to go with Unseen Servant, seeing that my character is working in a government building. He's a scribe. He's going to be doing writing a lot of stuff, and he's going to need his servants go back and forth, bringing him more parchment, bringing him more ink, taking things into the next room, things of that nature. So those are the spells I chose. That is our first level bard. So let's go ahead and level Angelos up to level 2. Okay, so Angelos is now a level 2 bard with 17 hit points. And at level 2, bards get 2 new features. The first one is Jack of all trades. Starting at second level, we can add half our proficiency bonus rounded down to any ability check that we make that doesn't include our proficiency bonus. So if we need to make an acrobatics check, you can see by the half moon or the half filled in circle over here, we can actually add a 1 to that roll because we are second level. Divide that in half is a 1. So that makes us very good at all skills, not just the ones that we're proficient in. The other ability that a bard gets at second level is called Song of Rest. Beginning at second level, we can use soothing music or oration to help revitalize our wounded allies during a short rest. If you or any friendly creatures who can hear your performance regain hit points at the end of the short rest by spending 1 more hit die, each of those creatures regain an extra 1d6 hit points. So if we're taking a short rest, then we get to roll an additional 6-sided die. 2 really cool abilities. Now, as far as spells are concerned, well, let's flip over to those. And we now have 3 first level spell slots, and the spell that I chose to add to my repertoire is Charm Person. And again, I'm going for being able to use my words and things of that nature. So if a character were to fail a saving throw or a humanoid were to fail a wisdom saving throw, then I am able to charm them for an hour and we just become buddies for the short term. So that is it for level 2. Let's move on and talk about the College of Eloquence abilities that we're going to get at level 3. So Angelos is now a level 3 bard. This is a very exciting level for us because we get to pick our bard college and we also get expertise in a couple of our skills, and I'll explain those in a little bit. But let's take a look at this first because Angelos is now a College of Eloquence bard. He has 24 hit points and his abilities, and I'm going to begin with with this one is Silver Tongue. So as a College of Eloquence Bard, you are a master at saying the right thing at the right time. When you make a charisma persuasion or charisma deception check, you can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. Now this is absolutely insane, and there's not going to be anybody that's going to disagree with Angelos from here on out, because we also get to pair this. So this is the Silver Tongue ability, but we also get expertise. As previously explained, this is going to be a third level option that we pick 2 of our skill proficiencies, and whenever we make a check with those, we double our proficiency bonus. So at level 3, our proficiency bonus is +2, so that would be a +4 to 2 of our skills, and I have picked Persuasion and Deception. So coming back down here to Silver Tongue, if we make any roll that is a 9 or lower, we treat it as a 10. So if right now we roll a 9 trying to persuade somebody, we have a +7 to our persuasion. So we make that a 10, and that is a 17. We cannot roll lower than a 17 on any persuasion or deception checks from here on out. Silver Tongue makes that just absolutely insane. So can you imagine using this character already in a campaign like Theros or Waterdeep Dragon Heist, where there's going to be a lot of role-playing and interaction with NPCs, and you have a third level College of Eloquence Bard that can't roll under a 17 on trying to deceive or trying to persuade somebody? They can even max out at 27 at third level. This is going to be could end up being a little bit frustrating for a DM, but I'm sure they'll work their way around it. It's going to be a lot of fun when everybody just listens to what we have to say. Now, the second ability that we get as a College of Eloquence Bard is Unsettling Words. You can spin words laced with magic that unsettle a creature and cause it to doubt itself. As a bonus action, you can expend one of your Bardic Inspiration and choose one creature you can see within 60 feet of you. Roll the Bardic Inspiration die. The creature must subtract the number rolled from the next saving throw it makes before the start of your next turn. So this is why I like to build on theme. So we can use a Bardic Inspiration die, and if a creature goes to make a saving throw, then they have to subtract that. So if we roll a 4, they have to subtract 4 from their d20 roll. Now, if you were paying attention to a few of the spells that I'm picking up, as far as Tasha's Hideous Laughter and Charm Person and Dissonant Whispers, right now all of them are sitting at a Wisdom saving throw with a DC of 13. Now, jumping back over and looking, I have 3 instances of my Bardic Inspiration that I can use. So if I decide to use a Bardic Inspiration die and have whoever I'm trying to charm or whoever I'm trying to use Dissonant Whispers or Tasha's Hideous Laughter on, I use the bonus action for that Bardic Inspiration. And let's say I roll a 4, then they're going to subtract 4 from their roll, and that more or less makes that DC 17 instead of 13. So Unsettling Words is going to be absolutely amazing when I really want that Charm Person or that Tasha's Hideous Laughter to stick. I just use the bonus action, Bardic Inspiration, and have them subtract that from your roll, and hopefully then it's going to go through and we're going to be able to accomplish whatever it is that we wanted. Now, the final thing to note about our third level bard is we also get our first second level spell. We now have 2 second level spell slots in addition to 4 first level spell slots. Now, as far as the second level spell that I chose, I kicked around a few other spells that were on theme, such as Suggestion and Calm Emotions, but I ultimately landed on Enhance Ability. Now, Enhance Ability can be cast on one person, and it's going to last up to an hour as long as we hold our concentration. Now, this can mean us or it can mean one of our allies or someone else, but the main reason that I wanted this for was for the Eagle's Splendor ability. So if we cast an Enhance ability on ourselves with Eagle's Splendor, then we get advantage on all charisma checks for an hour. You couple that in with we are already not able to roll anything less than a 17 on a persuasion and a deception, but now all of our charisma checks for an hour, as long as we hold concentration, are made with advantage. That's absolutely insane and getting the most out of our bard. But we can also cast this to help others. We can use the Bear's Endurance to give someone advantage on constitution checks if they're concentrating on a spell, perhaps. And it also gives them temporary hit points. So we've got Bull's Strength, which helps with strength checks, Cat's Grace with dex checks, Owl's wisdom with wisdom checks, so on and so forth. So having this spell here, enhance ability, not only helps us if we decide to use it for our charisma abilities, but it's also another way that our bard can inspire and give back to the party and help them be the best that they can be. So that's it for level 3. Let's take a look at level 4. Okay, so Angelos is now a level 4 College of Eloquence Bard, and at level 4 we get an ability score improvement, and right away I dumped that all into Charisma, giving us an 18 Charisma or a +4. Keeping an eye on those expertise skills, that gives us a +8 in Deception and a +8 in Persuasion, and don't forget that Silver Tongue ability where we can now not roll any lower than an 18 because all of our rolls of 9 or less are going to be counted as a 10. Now, in addition to the ability score improvement, we get a few new spells, and included in those spells is an additional cantrip, and the one that I chose is Friends. So now Angelos is getting very, very comfortable, almost too comfortable with his orator abilities and his uncanny knack for being able to persuade and deceive people. So with Friends, for the duration, you have advantage on all charisma checks directed at one creature of your choice that is not hostile towards you. When the spell ends, the creature realizes that you use magic to influence its mood and becomes hostile towards you. A creature prone to violence might attack you. Another creature might seek retribution in other ways, depending on the nature of your interaction with it. Now, this could be a little bit dangerous as far as this is the equivalent of picking a bar fight, as far as if you're a barbarian or something in a tavern, but this could end up being a lot of fun. And to go along with the Friends cantrip, another thing that I did was at 4th level, I swapped out the Invisible Servant for a spell called Disguise Self. Now with Disguise Self, you make yourself, including your clothing, armor, weapons, and other belongings on your person, look different until the spell ends or until you use your action to dismiss it. You can seem 1 foot taller, shorter, thinner, fatter, or in between, but you can't change your body type. So for the most part, for all intents and purposes, we're going to disguise ourselves as someone else. So we can use Disguise Self to change our appearance, and then we can use Friends to influence someone. And once we get what we needed out of the Friends cantrip, then we can drop the Disguise Self, and when they're all angry and looking for that person that influenced them and figured out that they were being taken advantage of, well, that person's not going to be around any longer because that was us in Disguise Self. So all in all, kind of a little bit of fun in a role-playing environment. Now, as far as the other spell that I chose, it's going to be another 2nd level spell, and that is Invisibility, because it may come down to a point where we get ourselves into trouble with the words that we're slinging about, or the people that we charm or make friends with, and we may need to run around the corner and make ourselves invisible in order to hide. Now, we also have 4 1st level spell slots and 3 2nd level spell slots, and that is all amazing stuff. And that's all I have for you for level 4. Let's move on to level 5. Okay, so Angelos is now a level 5 College of Eloquence Bard. He has 38 hit points, and he gets a new Bard ability as well as a 3rd level spell. Now, as far as the 3rd level spell goes, there wasn't a lot to choose from that were on theme with our Bard that likes to talk a lot, so I chose Fear. Now, this is more fear of a phantasmal image that will drive others away, but if I were to play this character, I would probably throw in some choice words on top of that phantasmal image in order to scare folks away and to keep them away from me. So kind of went with a defensive spell with Fear, and it is absolutely one of my favorite spells anyway, so it worked really well. Now, the ability that we get for our 5th level Bard is called Font of Inspiration, and that simply says beginning when you reach 5th level, you regain all of your expended uses of Bardic Inspiration when you finish a short or long rest. So previously to that, we only had 3 uses of our Bardic Inspiration, and that was used once per day, but now with Font of Inspiration, we get 4 uses of our Bardic Inspiration, and if we take a short rest, we regain all of those uses. So that's going to come in really handy, not just for helping our allies as far as giving them inspiration, but also for that unsettling words. So if we need to make a creature or a target subtract a d6 from their die roll in order to hopefully make them fail their saving throw, then all of those extra instances of Bardic Inspiration are going to come in very, very handy. So that's all I have for you for level 5. Let's advance Angelos up to level 6. So here we are as a level 6 bard, and I'm super excited about this because we're going to get some more College of Eloquence abilities. Before we jump into those, I did forget to mention that at level 5, our Bardic Inspiration die is now a D8. So previous to that, it was a D6 that we're either given to our allies or using with unsettling words to give them a D6 to subtract. Now it is a D8, so very cool indeed. Now, as far as our Bard abilities, we get a normal Bard ability at level 6, and in addition to that, 2 from the College of Eloquence, plus additional spell slots. So level 6 is fantastic for a College of Eloquence Bard. So let's start with the Bard ability first, and that is Counter Charm. So for Counter Charm, we gain the ability to use musical notes or words of power to disrupt mind-influencing effects. As an action, you can start a performance that lasts until the end of your next turn. During that time, you and any friendly creatures within 30 feet of you have advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed. A creature must be able to hear you to gain the benefit. The performance ends early if you are incapacitated or silenced, or if you voluntarily end it. So kind of a niche ability if I was familiar with someone that was doing a lot of charming or frightening or things of that nature, maybe some undead such as ghosts that are trying to scare us away or something like that, then this is definitely a good ability to have in the back pocket. I don't see it coming up a lot, but again, I could be wrong. Tell me in the comments below if Counter Charm has saved your butt as a bard or the butt of your adventuring party before. Just curious of how that worked out, and I would always love to hear a good story involving it. Now, our other abilities regarding the College of Eloquence are Unfailing Inspiration. Your inspired words are so persuasive that others feel driven to succeed. When a creature adds one of your Bardic Inspiration dice to its ability checks, attack rolls, or saving throws, and that roll fails, the creature can keep the Bardic Inspiration die. Wow. Okay. So previously, and with most bards, and now that we're level 6, this is a D8. We give a D8 to our barbarian. Let's say they roll with everything included a 12, and that's not good enough to hit. And they have Bardic Inspiration. So like, okay, I'm going to use my Bardic Inspiration. So they roll the D8 and they roll 1, and they still fail to hit. Usually that Bardic Inspiration die is gone. But with Unfailing Inspiration, they keep it until it succeeds. That's insane, and that's crazy, and that's awesome. So if they fail, that no worries. If they have an extra attack, then they could add it to that next attack. If they just save it to the next time, they save it to the next time. So that is a very powerful ability with that inspiration, allowing them, if they fail with it, to keep it and use it again later. Super cool. So now the next ability is Universal Speech. You have gained the ability to make your speech intelligible to any creature. As an action, choose one or more creatures within 60 feet of you, up to a number equal to your charisma modifier. So for Angelos, that's 4. The chosen creatures can magically understand you regardless of the language you speak for 1 hour. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest or unless you expend a spell slot to use it again. Any creature understand us for up to 1 hour. You know, I was digging through the spells and looking at tongues and comprehend languages as far as adding those to our spell list, but I kind of read ahead a little bit on this and I knew Universal Speech was coming, so I said, no, I'm just going to wait for it. And here it is at level 6. Universal Speech, this is absolutely amazing in a role-playing game. The fact that we can, for the most part, speak any language and have up to 4 creatures at this point understand us is just absolutely insane. And I really love this bard and his ability to speak and use his words to win at D&D. So much fun. Now, before we move on, at level 6, we do get the ability to pick another spell, and as previously discussed, I'm looking at the 3rd level spell slots. I obviously don't need tongues, but I was kind of looking at sending as being another 3rd level spell. That's where we're able to send a message over like miles and miles and things like that. Kind of fits in with our talking theme, but unless I think I would have to play this character up to level 6 to see if that spell was going to be plausible. So I just kind of stuck with something that is kind of generic. I didn't pick a 3rd level spell, and this spell still kind of ties in with our theme, and that is detect thoughts. So with detect thoughts, I thought this could be another good ability or another good spell that we could use with unsettling words, where we can have the target subtract a bardic inspiration die. At this point would be a d8 from the wisdom saving throw that we need to make them make. So at current time, our DC for Angelos is 15 unsettling words. They could subtract a d8 from that roll, and we would be able to use detect thoughts. Again, we can go right off the surface to kind of get what they're feeling in general, but then if we find somebody, we want to probe deeper and get into their mind, and then maybe use that against them with our persuasion or a deception or intimidation or charisma abilities later. That would be fantastic. So I'm picking a lot of role-playing spells and things of that nature, but we do still have some spells that can be pumped up to use our 3rd level spell slots, like Dissonant Whispers can now have 5d8 of psychic damage if it succeeds, plus we can use Healing Word as a 3rd level spell, Charm Person, Invisibility, things like that. So even though we have 3 3rd level spell slots and we just have Fear as our 3rd level spell, I still feel pretty confident in our overall ability to be able to protect ourselves, and we'll be relying a lot on our adventuring party anyway, as we're going to be more of the face of the group, the talker, and things like that. So that's all I have for you for level 6. Let's see what happens to our bard when we advance to level 7. So Angelos is now level 7 bard with 52 hit points. By the way, our proficiency bonus has gone up to +3. That happened, I think, a level 2 ago. So our deception and our persuasion, because we have expertise in those skills, are at a +10. Since we can't roll less than a 10, we automatically get a 20 on any persuasion or deception, and we can get a maximum of a 30 on our d20 roll. That is very powerful. And with that in mind, the only thing that we get at level 7 is a 4th level spell slot. So looking at the spell list, unlike 3rd level, there's a lot of 4th level spells that I wanted to see. I think a lot of them would work good with the ability to have a creature subtract a d8 from their roll, because there's a lot of save or nothing happen type of spells like polymorph and things of that nature. But all in all, I decided to go with Charm Monster. And again, I want this character to be able to use his words and just talk to things and persuade them to be on his side. So this is just like Charm Person, but now it's a creature, and they have to make a wisdom saving throw DC 15 or be charmed by our bard for up to an hour. And again, I would probably use that bardic inspiration die to make sure that they subtracted a d8 from the roll when making this attempt. So again, I'm picking this on theme. I would probably go, if I'm just picking for power of spells at this level, seeing everything else that I have, I would probably go Dimension Door or Polymorph. But to keep this character in theme with what we've already built, I'm going to go with Charm Monster. Let's do one more level before we move on and finish this video. Let's see what happens to this character at level 8. So here we are at level 8, and once again we get an ability score improvement or a feat, and of course, as I stated at the beginning of this video, I'm going to max out that charisma, so we now have a charisma of 20, which gives us a +5. So our skills that we're concentrating so hard on, the persuasion and deception, are now +11, and a lot of our other charisma-based skills such as intimidation and performance are at a +8. So that is absolutely fantastic and right where we want to be. Now, as far as our 4th level spell slot that we get for reaching 8th level, I thought about Polymorph or perhaps Dimension Door, which is one of my favorites, but then I gave it a little bit more thought and I figured, why not Greater Invisibility? So I like invisibility as a spell, but now with greater invisibility, we can use that 4th level spell slot, and we can have it where we can actually cast our spells and we don't become visible and we can't be detected where we're at, except for of course, the verbal components if they can hear us. So you or a creature you touch becomes invisible till the spell ends. Anything the target is wearing or carrying is invisible as long as it's on that person, on the target's person. So it doesn't even have to be us. It could be our fighter or barbarian. We can send them into combat and make them invisible. So I really like greater invisibility. And since we're going to pick that one, we could come back here and we could get rid of our regular invisibility. And we should probably have a way to see invisible. And of course, this is going to be dependent on the games that you're in as far as what spell here, because detect magic and dispel magic are probably well worth the investment, but we'll just pick see invisibility for now. And honestly, I do believe that's it for us for level 8. That's all the abilities. Before we end the video, let's take a look at some of the higher level abilities that you get with the College of Eloquence Bard. Now at 9th and 10th level, a regular bard is going to get additional abilities like Song of Rest, Expertise, and Magical Secrets, but none of those are in particularly focus on College of Eloquence. We go from 6th level to 14th level before we get our next subclass ability. So let's take a look at this one, Infectious Inspiration. So a 14th level College of Eloquence Bard gets this. When you successfully inspire someone, the power of your eloquence can now spread to someone else. When a creature within 60 feet of you adds one of your bardic inspiration die to its ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, and the roll succeeds, you can use your reaction to encourage a different creature other than yourself that can hear you within 60 feet, giving it a bardic inspiration die without expending any of your bardic inspiration uses. You can use a reaction a number of times equal to your charisma modifier and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This is absolutely insane because now we can use, it's almost like we get two different piles of bardic inspiration. We get the pile over here that we can use for our allies and the other one for the unsettling words. So we can inspire friends over here and have them do better on their rolls and say mean things to our enemies over here, have them do worse on their rolls. And now that we can just pass a die around, so we can just throw one die out there, not only do they get to keep it until they succeed with it, but now once it succeeds, we can use our reaction because we absolutely have nothing for reaction so far, and then we can pass that die to somebody else. So this is absolutely amazing and I love it. If I ever got to play this character at 14th level, this would be just so much fun to pass that die around the table. So what have we built here? We've got a character that uses their words just to absolutely manipulate people, either by persuasion or by deceiving them, and we have all different kinds of ways to make sure that those checks go through. Now, as far as the backstory for the character that I'm going to be playing in my Theros campaign, he's used his words a lot in the past. He has a brother, Daedros, that would get into a lot of trouble, and Angelos would go to pick up Daedros, and he would use his words to more or less get his brother out of trouble and things of that nature. And then he also inspires to be a politician someday in the city of Miletus, and actually even worships the god of the polis, which is a Pharaoh. But that's just a character that I'm going to play. And again, you don't need to be playing a Theros campaign in order to use this character. You can play it in any campaign as long as your dungeon master approves it, because this is a very powerful social character. You definitely want to have your DM's blessing before bringing a character like Angelos to your table. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this character build, and let me know in the comments below if this is a type of character that you would like to play as a player, and if you're a DM, would you allow this type of character in your game? What are some of the spells that you would pick differently, or some of the options that you would pick differently? I'm really excited to find out how you would build a College of Eloquence Bard. Once again, a huge shout out to D&D Beyond. I really enjoyed building a character on this platform and will be using it from here on out. If you want more information on D&D Beyond, I'll put a link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time, and on to the next.